Alright everybody, it's Burt from SoftTubes, another trailer reaction, and today the trailer reaction is for 1917. I know nothing about this except from apparently it involves the First World War, given the date, so let's jump on in. That's better, a little loud. Okay, I was I thought it was going to be, but then it didn't seem like it. DreamWorks. It's always weird to see the DreamWorks logo before something gritty. Okay.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir. Is he alive?
And with your help, I'd like to keep it that way. But they're walking into a trap. Your orders are to deliver a message calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you don't, we will lose 1,600 men. Your brother among them.
There is only one way this war ends. Last man standing.
Oh.
What the hell are you doing, Lance Corporal? No! No! No!
If you fail,
Yeah, so they
it will be a
reuse that.
massacre.
That shouldn't have been for the trailer and also the actual title screen.
Good luck.
Okay. I'll tell you my main thing I was thinking while watching this was, this is giving me Dunkirk vibes. And there's a couple of reasons I think it was doing that. One was the ticking, the sort of clock, which makes sense given that this is a ticking clock type film. They set up this must be done by this time or bad things happen. So that's absolutely set up in the thing. It's not pure... I could be actually wrong. I'm remembering the Dunkirk trailer featuring some sort of ticking clock, but I could be wrong. But again, in that film, if it did do that in the trailer, that was a film about a ticking clock. Ticking clock things sort of work for war films, because they deliver a different kind of tension that it makes sense for why we're focusing on particular events. One of the problems with war stuff is wars take time. And it's very unlikely to deal with a lot of different stuff within a short time period. Doing a ticking clock-like thing of like, yeah, you have to get here or do this by this time, delivers a good structure in order for an audience to just fully buy into what's happening. I mean, Dunkirk played around with the time a lot more than I imagine this will, since this seems to be following two characters. And it'll... it's interesting. I'm not entirely sure what this film is going to go for overall. It's also interesting. The other thing that makes me think of Dunkirk is the way they're trying to use tension in this trailer. I don't think it's necessarily as working as well as Dunkirk. Although with Dunkirk, I think the tension was done well, but it got to a point, by the time I saw that film, I had seen the trailer so many, or the trailers, because I don't know if I ever saw a proper trailer for that film. It was always like these short dum 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 dum, like doosh 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 kind of things. And it was always more like small TV spots almost. But I saw them. Every movie that I saw had one for it, and I was sick of that film before it came out, simply because of the amount of friggin' stuff I was seeing. If I'd seen one teaser, I would have been happy. I would have gone like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I probably would have gone and seen it. I still saw it, but only because a friend was like, oh, do you want to come see this with me? I was like, you know, I might as well. It could be like, I've heard really good things. But I was so sick of that movie by the time it came out. I mean, this is definitely a proper trailer, so that's not going to happen here. But there is definitely a way they sort of build tension. It does the thing that like normally is reserved for more jokes and stuff, like, and it happens in horror stuff. That cut of sound, so you just get to see with the silence, is a way of building good tension. In a comedy thing, you usually cut all the sounds to allow the joke to stand out. In a horror, you cut to build tension. So it's more like a horror thing in a lot of ways. Of gonna cut the sound and let's just focus in on characters, and typically it will be like a shot that sits on a character, and you'll just get to see with that silence. And usually the silence will be punctuated by something. At the end, I might have already forgotten, but I don't think it was. I don't think there was anything to like cut it off aside from it's the movie. Like it was just like the title, like directed by shots. So in a way that sort of defies the convention. I think that works well in the favor of this trailer because it leaves a more lasting impression. Like I'm feeling more off, and not in a bad way necessarily. Where if there'd been like a boom, like a big explosion or something, I would have been like, oh, okay, cool action film, and just for like whatever. Because it left me with silence, or very quiet, and just that of the arms moving up, the rustling of the uniform, that leaves a bigger impression. And I think part of that is simply the way that we view things these days. That too often everything is very loud. And I'm a person who doesn't like silence. Like, typically, if I'm going to be in silence, I'll find a way to make a noise. Part of it's through talking. I enjoy talking, partly because I don't like silences. I find them uncomfortable. I'll typically listen to music where I can. But I think, like, for a lot of people, that's very different. But there is a thing where every movie trailer is typically pretty big. Drama ones tend to be a bit more quiet, but when it's anything to deal with action or war, they tend to be big, they tend to be loud. So having moments of silence actually ends up having the opposite effect of what all those loudness was supposed to be. They became loud trailers because they were trying to grab attention. And the more you need people's attention, the louder they got, essentially. But we're now hitting that tipping point where you can't really make them any louder without it becoming too much. So we're seeing, I think, in my opinion, from what I've seen, a resurgence of these quieter, softer trailers, punctuated by sound and loudness, but with more sitting on quiet, because the quiet sits with us more now. We've sort of turned back a little bit. And I'm sure we'll go for a cycle where we'll get a lot more quiet type trailers until that doesn't work quite as well, and then we go back to the real loud, noisy kind of ones. In like, that both are going to exist no matter what, but we're going to see more of one or the other, essentially. It's also interesting to me the resurgence of World War I films. Like, World War II films, we've seen lots of. Like, World War II in media, we've seen a lot of in general. Video games like to handle it, films have handled it a lot, TV shows have handled a lot of it. World War I we've seen less of. In my personal opinion, it comes down to the... what's the best word I'm thinking of? It comes down to the... I don't want to say efficacy, because that's still wrong, but the simplicity, almost. So, World War II, it's very easy for us to, in Western societies, to look at World War II and very objectively say, we were the good guys. Arguably, that is wrong for several reasons, and I believe that, yeah, like... we're a good guy for some reasons. We're also a bad guy for several reasons. But that isn't entirely everything. There's like, but for the most part, we were fighting Nazis who were doing horrible things. The Japanese were doing a lot of horrible stuff in the camps, both to the Chinese and other groups. The Italians were helping the Nazis. Like, it was a war that was kind of black and white. World War I's a lot fiddlier. I was very surprised Wonder Woman decided to dive into it. I have mixed feelings about how it dealt with it. I understand the position it took, where it kind of established we are good guys, Germans are bad guys, Turks are bad guys. But it is unfair to actually make that a thing. And I think that is the problem with doing World War One is the moment you've got to try hard to make it one-sided. And it's not too bad with a lot of people. It's very easy to go, like, you are from the good guys. Here is that position. And a lot of people will kind of accept that, like, yeah, I'm a good person. I'm from a good society. My country are good people. Even if I don't agree with, like, the current government, there is that nostalgia thing of, I don't like the current government, but the old governments, they like that was when we were great, and all these things like that. Problem was, World War One didn't really play out that way. World War One was not we were fighting for freedom. World War Two wasn't even that we were fighting for freedom. But we were able to argue it after the fact. It's very difficult, World War One, to say we were fighting for freedom, we were fighting for good values, because it was essentially a political shitstorm where we invaded places that weren't doing anything that we would deem evil, but we invaded Turkey because we want all the Ottomans at the time because we wanted oil. We invaded other places because we wanted things, or it was simply strategic to do so. It was basically political meandering. Even the Germans weren't going like, we're going to take over the world, or try, like, it was an attempt to do an expansion, yes, but not necessarily, like, there's nothing necessarily inherently bad about what any side did. There's also nothing inherently good about what any side did, essentially. So it's a tricky one to handle, and I find it surprising that so many films these days are sort of trying to handle it. I don't think it's ever going to be an issue. Like, there'll be people like me who'll go, oh, I don't like how one-sided this approach is. But we don't make up most of the audience, more than likely. Like, most of the audience will either be... I think a lot of the audience for this is going to be filled with a lot of older people. Because these sort of films do. They harken back to a past that even if they didn't know, their parents knew. And so there's something there. So to try and do a complicated thing there is not going to work necessarily. And it's also going to sort of apply to people about my age. People are looking for a bit of a tense, action-y type thing. But there is definitely but I don't think the audiences of this film are going to care too much that it's a one-sided war story. I think World War One is far enough away now that it's almost becoming myth. And I think in a way we're in danger of doing that ourselves, where we're creating a myth about World War One at this point. And that is very dangerous. But it'll be interesting to see where this goes. This looks like an interesting film. I may not rush out to see it immediately. I'm not a huge war movie kind of guy. Because for me, there's a different, like, going to see action films about like Hobbs and Shaw. It's two dudes fighting big dudes. It's all kind of, even when they start to dip into dangerous territory, like a lot of the 80s sort of action films did, with all like, the communists are the bad guys, and that means instantly like Chinese are bad, or this are bad, or that are bad. They can dip into dangerous territory on who they present as bad people, but when you're dealing with a war film, you're dealing with real things. And for me, the way you present them becomes dangerous, or potentially dangerous. Even if you do things 100% real, there's still a risk, because there's no way to avoid a bias in storytelling unless you're just showing images. The moment you try to make a documentary, you are inserting a bias of your own opinion as the person making it. Just showing images, you can get away with it, but then you've got to select what images to show. There's always going to be a bias, and that's risky. And yeah, it does sort of run the risk of creating myth where perhaps there shouldn't be one. So war films for me have always been a little fiddly. Some of them are really, really good. I really like Dunkirk, but there's still issues within there of what we do. Portrayals of Germany and World War II as all bad are risky, but then you also run the risk of trying to do a portrayal that's more human, runs the risk of making Nazis look better, and that's also dangerous. To suggest that their ideals are not entirely wrong because good people followed is also very risky. So it's very, very dangerous territory. But I'll be interested to see how this film is, like how the critics sort of react to it, how people seem to react to it, even if I don't go see it straight away. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Yeah, I haven't done a lot over the weekend. I had a few days off from my main work, which means I should have been doing more of this, but then I had a lot of other stuff popping up, and I also want to take a little bit of a break to actually take advantage of the fact that I had a longer weekend than normal. So that was nice. I bought myself a new chair because I've needed one for a while. Hopefully I don't break this one within a month. Yeah, and that's basically it. Got a bunch of trailers to react to. There's a few there I want to do. There might be new stuff, I don't know yet. I've had a few suggestions to do, and I'll probably try and get through them, so we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, so that's kind of just a run-up of what's everything going. Probably should have started with, if you have any thoughts on this trailer, or if you think like I'm completely wrong about certain things I said, which is very likely. I'm running off the top of my head. I'm probably not even fully thinking things through. There's probably stuff I said that I don't fully agree with. Just in the moment, it was the way my brain was going. But if there is, that's true. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. Problem with this chair is I'm going to swing a lot more. That's always an issue. And if you're new to the channel, you like trailer reactions, you like movie reviews, all of those good things, video games. Me and Chris are going to be recording, well, I'll at least be recording a new game with Chris, it looks like. He was talking about playing something, and even if he can't record his POV, I can record mine, like I did with when I played with my brother and his girlfriend with Pacify. There is still one episode to come. So there is still more gameplay stuff coming. I still want to talk to George about doing some online stuff too. So we'll see how all that goes. But, yeah, so there's stuff coming. So if you like all that kind of stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you want to keep up with when it comes out, as it comes out, make sure you hit the bell, because it does that apparently. It doesn't always work quite right, I've noticed. Randomly tells me when certain things come out and doesn't tell me when other things do, but whatever. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. This was a really strange film for me to watch in a few ways, though I will straight up say right now, I really enjoyed myself watching this movie. Like, the characters are charismatic, the action pieces are exciting, the comedy is funny. Like, the only thing I would have liked, like, wish it had done more was